Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. I'm wherever you are in the world. I'm Leslie Flowers, and this is a very special Friday training on, let me just show you, calendar management by value. And as you come into the room, I'm going to show you some things today that will absolutely inspire you to think newly and slightly differently about your calendar, your activities, your boundaries, everything that goes into it. And so let me sing you in and invite you in. Let me know where you're calling from. Everybody is ready for holidays all over the world. And let me make this a little bit smaller and just come right on in and we'll begin. It looks like we're broadcasting in both places. So here we go. Ready? This is going to be 45 minutes fast. If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. If I could make days last forever, if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with. Good morning, Philip and John and William. Hi, Sherry. So good to see you this morning. If I had a box just for wishes and dreams that had never come true, the box would be empty except for the memory of how they were answered by you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things that I want to do once I find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with. I was looking for a song that worked with calendaring, and that was the one that popped up. So good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Come on into the room. This is a fast and furious 45 minutes, a lot of interesting information for you that I've never shared with you before. I'm Leslie Flowers. What can I tell you about me? Well, if you're ready and willing to become an agile thinker, that is not only to outweigh your fears with your conscious awareness, faith over fear, but better than that, that while you're overcoming them, you are able to select between the contexts that are required to meet your audience, whoever they are and wherever they are. If you do this as long as I have, you will be able to do that. You will be able to present whatever it is you want, the same thing to doctors as you would to plumbers. The only thing you would do is shift the context of the examples. This takes agile thinking. But we want to start here with a unique view of something I developed over 17 years because I My specialty is goal achievement, the principles of success, the universal laws, and I created the 12 laws of achievement. So over 17 years, over 500 client goals have been set and achieved using my hybrid system that's built on 25 years of personal development. And this particular problem that I noticed, everybody was setting and achieving goals, but for some reason, they weren't happy. They were filled with anxiety and frustrated, but they were doing everything they were supposed to do. Well, it took me about 6 months to figure it out. And what I'm going to share with you today is what I figured out and what we've used all these 17 years. You can use it today, or any little tidbit about it that you like. So this isn't about my way is better than your way. This way may give you insight. So listen for something that resonates with you, even one small thing that you can implement easily. And it's part of how you do these things. So this will actually give you a boost in awareness. So I am going to say hello from here. You can see all the wonderful names here. I don't know how to make them bigger, but I'd like to welcome Philip Ailes from Jacksonville, Florida. Philip, it's so good to see you. It's been a while. I'm glad you're back here. Philip works with veterans. He has a lovely wife. And Philip is all about people living the life that they choose and they love. And he will help you do that. So I love that. Thank you, Philip. And John Werner is calling in from, oh, by the way, Philip is in Jacksonville. And John Werner is a new connection. And he's calling in from Chicago. And it's cold there. I know that it's bone-chilling cold there. Thank you for being here, John. I want this 45 minutes to be totally filled with value, to exceed your expectations, okay? So we're going to talk about my system, Task Crusher, and also we'll look at Covey's 4 quadrants, known as the Eisenhower Matrix, to Dwight David Eisenhower, former president of the United States. A lot of people have used the idea, but I want to show you from Covey's point of view, because it's helped me a lot with daily planning. So calendaring is not just daily planning. And there's the wonderful William Rochelle. Hello, William. He's in Florida too. And he's a wonderful new friend and connection. I'm very glad to see you. Thank you for being here. And Sherry Akwiri is calling in from Nairobi, Kenya. She's a wonderful administrative person, administrative assistant. I met her as she was coordinating Power Thinking Corp's events. And she always treated me like I was the only member, and I know there are lots. So thank you, Sherry, for being here. And our most wonderful Leanna Stock is here, calling in from Duluth, Minnesota, and we're talking cold there too, like super duper cold. Leanna is a specialist in, oh God, let me think of the word. Diabetes. But how I know her the most, and I know that the diabetes is very important, but she does the most beautiful pictures out her back door, and incredible sunrises and sunsets and snowfalls. Just imagine living. If you look at her pictures, be sure to follow her, because imagine living where that's your view. How peaceful is that? So thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you liked the song, everybody. It came right to me. I said, what's a song I'm thinking in my mind? What's a song about time? And I thought, Time in a Bottle, right? Obviously. You like it fast and focused. Ashif Haji is here, our modern day reincarnated Rumi. Please follow and get to know Ashif. He posts all over the internet with beautiful poetic expressions. Most of them are his, but he also shares other people's with beautiful backgrounds. So if you're working hard, it's really nice to see what Leanna has posted and what Ashif posts, because it kind of moves you from one side of the brain to the other, from what I understand. And there is Islam Gouda. He's our marketing master. And Islam has won awards in marketing. And I've missed you for a while, but I see you're back, and I'm so glad, Islam. Thank you. And you're going to be helping me with my YouTube station in 2026. Okay, we're going to make it beautiful. And here's a wonderful Meryl Cass. Hi, Meryl. I'm so glad you're here. What have you got? Oh, that's right. Heavy rain and 50 miles an hour gusting winds. It's a first alert. I don't even want to ask, well, if it's raining, it's not snowing. So it must be at least 32 or above. Anyway, stay warm. And if you don't know Meryl shares events that he's aware of. There's several people doing that in direct message groups. So if you're looking for an event that's live, that is filled with rich value, with people that aspire to live with integrity and be their authentic selves and vulnerable. And it's easy to do here. All you have to do is comment. Keep in mind that any question or insight you get today, drop it in the comments, because when people go back and listen to this, even yourself, they're not only going to get what I'm going to share, but they're going to get what you saw, because you will see things that I haven't seen or that the next person hasn't seen. Oh, I put that up there. See, I wasn't going to do that. Oh, there's... Anyway, Meryl, you made it to the stage, because I'm a creature of habit, actually. Okay, we don't have a lot of time. I want to finish this up in 3 minutes so that I have a good, solid amount of time. John says it's very cold in Chicago. Sharon Rose Winfield is here, and she's 2 hours earlier. Hi, Sharon Rose. She's the Gita girl, and she's all about gratitude being the attitude. She's done a lot of studying with a lot of famous personal development and philosophical and scientists. So you want to get to know her. Okay. Thank you for being here, Rosie. That's her nickname. And let's see, Linda Meyer is here. Hi, Linda. Linda Meyer. Linda, remind me where you're calling from. Linda is a recently certified coach with a specialty in her posts about narcissism. And I love that someone gets into it and explains the patterns and everything. A little late for me, right? I wish I'd known this 50 years ago with someone I know. But just the same, if you think that you're behaving narcissistically, and I wonder, Linda, let's talk about, aren't we all a touch narcissistic? And is there a continuum so that you could be smack in the middle and be like a psychopathic narcissist, but you could move out to the edge of the bell curve where you sometimes have those tendencies? So I think it would be wonderful to know. I've already discovered some of my own. I try very hard not to. Oh, and look at Sean Michael is here. Hi, Sean Michael. He has a live show Mondays at noon. It's called Monday Mind Shift. And it's a wonderful live. You will get to know him. And really, really, thank you for calling in on YouTube. I'm glad everything is working. And Bayron Castro, thank you so much for being here. I want this next 30 minutes to be high value for you, because we can't save time in a bottle, right? Even though we would like to. Good morning, America. All right. Then these will be coming up on the stage. Let's go ahead and get going. We have 15 minutes. If you're just coming in, I'm Leslie Flowers. Tell us where you're calling in from. I typically do in this slot a 12-week, each quarter, deep study, beginner study in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and the Principles of Success. Well, we completed the 12 weeks along with the 12 laws of achievement, setting a goal for Q4 2025. And so there's 2 weeks left. So this week, I'm going to share this with you, which you've not seen, my program. You've seen things like it, but it's really about value and setting boundaries based on your value, the things you value. So you get out a pencil and paper, because you really want to think about which are the things that you totally value that are static with you. In other words, you wouldn't change them. Doctor's appointments, hair appointments, cleaning your house every day, health and wellness, education, business, client meetings. What is it that you value the most, and when do you like to do it? Okay. Let's see. Oh, look, Sharon Rose says narcissism and narcissist are different. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I am, but thank you. And I'm speaking out of my hat on that. I don't know a lot about that, and I'm first to say it. And oh my goodness, thank you for pointing that out. Go ahead and put the distinction in the comments if you'd like. That's would be wonderful, and I'll read them depending on how our time goes. And welcome, Charles Caldwell, calling in from Hong Kong, China. It's 10:15 or 11:15 at night, depending on daylight savings. Okay, so let's go. Ready? Here we go. I haven't done this in a while. All right, so here's the first thing you want to do. All right, so here's what I want you to do. The first things for you to write down are the things that you value, as I mentioned, that are static for you, that you don't give up unless there's an emergency that only you can handle. Someone is bleeding. These are things that have the highest value to you. Now, obviously, if there's an emergency, you'll make a shift, but there's power in designating which things are your top priority. These are not the priorities of your clients. If they have an emergency, most of us have a way. In my program, I always had an emergency call every 6 weeks that they could call me once when they just couldn't take it and they needed me whenever they wanted to. They got one of those every 12 weeks. So these are things that you will stand for. These will turn into your boundaries. So if you've never done this, you want to look at your work, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in corporate, or whether you have a franchise, or whether you're in the job search, what are the things around work that you will not compromise on unless there's an emergency? You're very clear that this is how you want it to go, and you get to choose as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, right? And look here, welcome, Aaron Gibson. So glad that you're here, Aaron. Aaron, I sang If I Could Save Time in a Bottle this morning. It was perfect for what we're doing today. So thank you for being here. And if you see Mind Over Matter Mondays, you'll know that Aaron did the intro, and I'll play that as we leave today, because on Monday we have Coach Lee Hopkins as our guest teacher. Also, Leah Garcia is here. Hello, Leah. She's our Wall of Wealth woman, 1 p.m. every Wednesday afternoon Eastern, the Wall of Wealth live show. So jot down, as far as work goes, include family hours, personal hours, and client hours. So as far as work goes, if you're an entrepreneur or you're job searching, when are you going to do that? When are the best times for you? Do you like to do it in the morning, in the afternoon? Not every day, unless you're working for someone else and you have things to do every day, okay? So what are those things? Business hours, are those important to you? As far as your, like, do it when you want to do it, not just whenever anybody calls you. How about volunteering? Maybe you help with church on Sunday, or you feed the homeless on certain holidays, or you volunteer at your child or your grandchild's school. These are things that you set in advance, typically, and that are important to you. They're service to others and also to your family and yourself. So it's also important, like when you're looking at spirituality, it can be your own spirituality. Here's another place to put education. So you already do this on Monday and Friday. So since you come here every Monday and Friday, and it's important to you, or you wouldn't come every week, that holds a place in your calendar. And I know that when you say attend, you're going to do your best. But there are some of you who never miss. So that's another thing you can think of. Spirituality. Are you going to a retreat? Do you have a mini vacation where you're going with a group for meditation? What have you planned out for the next 3 months that you already know? Are you going to Podfest? I have a friend here that loves Podfest, right? Oh, what's turning out pink? She says, pink on my calendar, personal priorities. Oh, I do have education. That's the next one. Okay, got it. And then your health and wellness. Maybe you've stopped running or you want to start walking at lunch 3 days a week for 30 minutes. So these are the things that are important to you. Sometimes we stop doing those little things because we're so overwhelmed with things. And also shopping and planning for your family, date night, family night. Do you do that on Friday night where you get pizza, or every other week? What day do you go shopping for your food? For myself, when my children were growing, and my daughter has done the same, she works full time, on Sundays we cook for the week, right? We get our groceries early in the morning and we come home, we've planned out pretty much what we're going to cook all week, and we cook it all. Because by the time we come home, we're too tired. So this way, it's a wonderful day. So that would be on your calendar. And then any doctors or dentists, hair appointments, nail appointments, massage appointments, anything you've got planned, start thinking about this. These are the things that you value. You get to say, okay, hi, OG. So glad you're here. OG Cartoon is here. And so glad you're here. Let us know where you're calling from. You can invite friends in. So this is the first step in taking a new, fresh look at how you organize your life. Now, it's easy. Like for me, my office is in my home. So it's very easy to let all those boundaries go and do what I want this and have client meetings whenever I feel like it. But there's something about consistency and discipline. And you'll notice I've crossed the barrier of both my shows have done at least 100 episodes over the last 2 years live. I do well in a structure of doing things I love. And many of you know that I'm retired, semi-retired. So I'm not grappling for clients in a way that I did all my life. So I get to just give you this. And it's my prayer and my intention that you get it and make a little difference in your life, because time elapses. All right, let's see here. Any other comments, insights? So this is the first thing to do. What do you not want to change? A lot of people move a lot of things around on their calendar. And let me tell you, while you're thinking about this, one of my clients was a very successful human resource person, was a coach. She taught people in the fire industry leadership. But before she got heavy into that, her calendar was madness. And when she came to me 5 or 6 years ago, her first quarter goal was to get her calendar in control. Because when someone would call and say, will you work on my resume? She came from, even though she had plenty of money and she was very successful, she came and was aware that she came from a poverty mindset. So there is a point where you're starting to feel abundant, and she hadn't yet, even though she was making all the money. And she was with me for 4 years. So that's for 16 goals consecutively. And it began with the calendaring because she was in anxiety. She could never keep it organized, and she couldn't say no. If somebody called her, and she didn't even want to do resumes anymore, right? So she was doing everything and anything because of the money, which is pretty natural for all of us, I think, and didn't want to do most of them. So the value was missing, right? So she was really at the mercy of everybody else, but she had money and she was successful in terms of financial success, but not happy at all. We spent the first 12 weeks working on this, and then she travels 2 quarters a year. So I made a mask to go over the when she's home task manager calendar that overlaid what she does on her travel. So the system came about because there was so much inconsistency, and there was also a lot of resentment and unhappiness, and it had to do with this. Hi, Michael Thomas, the confidence coach. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm super glad that you came here. And Nicole is here. Hi, Nicole. I'm so glad you're here. Nicole 𝐅𝐑𝐈𝐄 is the owner of Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing House. This is her first year of business, and I just have to brag and say she's published 8 books. I published years ago, and my total was 17 over 5 years. Or it's 18, right? 18, 17 or 18. So Nicole is here, and I'm honored to be able to help her now and then with some line editing, and I appreciate that. She's also a good friend. And let's see, let's go on. All right, you got this. You heard the story about my wonderful friend, and actually she and one other woman who was a physician who spent several years studying with me are the only two people I certified to teach my work. It took them a year and a 12-hour test because I was not certifying anyone who couldn't teach it the way I taught it. So that meant they had to understand it completely, and they did the work. These 2 women are amazing. The first one I told you is now way up in the fire industry organizations, and the other one is a physician and has her own business. Also, of course, is a physician, but she's also does a lot of nonprofit work. So both are happy. Ready? All right, here we go. So if you've come in, we're going to look at 2 things here. This is my system. You want to jot down. Think about this. What is it that you don't want to give up ever? All right. This is one way. It's not the simplest way of documenting it, but this is kind of how I did it. It doesn't matter. You can do this with vertical columns. I recommend you do this on paper. But the idea is to somehow document a list of the things that you don't want to give up, you do not want to change, that you want to always be there. Notice we don't change our hair appointments or our dental appointments or our doctor's appointments as much. It's not as easy, right? They decide. You don't decide. But all the other things on your calendar, you do decide, pretty much all of them. So you've got date night in the romance and doctor's appointments, finance. You know, are you looking at your accounts? How often do you do that? Is it once a week? Is it a morning? What feels better to you, morning? Or do you like to do that in the morning? You're much better on the weekend with that. So start thinking about your choice of when you'd like to do these things, not just when someone calls you. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. We're doing good. All right, so if you have any questions, drop them in there. So this is your next step to kind of take a look at what you've got. Now you can plot it right into the calendar, and I'm going to tell you, whoops, sorry. Oh, goodness gracious. Didn't want you to see that. Well, there we go. This is the blank task crusher, and I have several different ones. Let's see if I can make this a little bit better. Oh, I didn't want to do that. How about this? Well, I didn't want to do that either. How about this? There we go. Much better. Now, I added a 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Some people who are working full-time and that aren't want to do something between those hours. But I have different templates where there is no 6 to 8 a.m. All you have to do is delete that row, okay? And I have another iteration where there is lunch between 12 and 1. You'll notice it's not here, but it went 8 to noon and then 1 to 5. This is blocking. This is not at 8:15, I'm going to do this. 8:45, I'm going to talk to this person. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to talk. No, this is one overview, and I recommend you do it by hand. You can have it laminated, keep it in your car. It's an overview. If you're out driving somewhere and someone calls you and wants to get together, you don't have to stop and look at your phone. I know this sounds crazy, but if you have this in your car, like I always do, although I haven't driven this year much at all, but I always had it with me so I could quickly look. Oh, I'm seeing clients on Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoons. So if they call and they say, I'd really love to get together with you, I already know what days I have openings. My only availabilities this week are Tuesday and Thursday. Let me double check which are open, and I'll get back to you. Now, I want to tell you one other story. Another friend of mine who runs a network on Facebook that it's huge. And she came to me, I think it was about 2015. She has 4 children. Her husband works 45 minutes away. She works from home. 3 of her children go to private school, which is an hour every day north. Now, everybody had a separate calendar. Nobody knew who was picking up who. She was determined to create one calendar for the whole family based on this premise. Once this was done, she did translate it into one family calendar. And what was on there is picking up every day who is doing it, right? There were doctor's appointment. One of her children was educable. Let's see, she had a traumatic brain injury. So there, although she was the eldest child, she needed a lot of care, lots of doctor's appointments. So it took a little doing, but since that time, she's told me that their whole family, even as it changes, only use this calendar as the family overview. So that's something you could think about yourself if you need that. And I see Stanley Green has come in. Thank you, Stanley, for being here. Stanley sponsors Mind Over Matter Mondays, and he has a live show 7:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesdays and 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Live Power Thinking Corp. And he now has an app, so you can do everything from the app on your phone. But he also brings people in by phone. So he hasn't left any seniors or boomers behind. Thank you, Stanley, for being here. Okay, so I can send you whatever template. You can make your own. You do 12 weeks. My experience has been that that's about enough for a goal. But the neat part about this is many times you can duplicate this 12 weeks into other quarters, because certain things are static. Certain doctor's appointments are, hair appointments are. I don't know. And when you have a vacation, if you plan a 3-day vacation, you get it on here so nothing gets in your way. And with my corporate clients, I taught them, and they were mostly programmers and programming engineers, but they were also CEOs and all the C-levels. I convinced them every 6 weeks to take a 3-day weekend. They never thought of it. You put that on your calendar that you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. It's something lovely to look forward to. You don't forget about it. The vacation starts as soon as you enter it. It's high value to you. And they started doing it. Thank you. Nicole says this is the right time to do this. Thank you, Nicole. Because this is the time to kind of rethink who's in charge, right? So it can be any way you want. You can blot out the 6 to 8 a.m. You can do whatever you want. Now, one of the things here is you might put administrative 8 a.m. to noon on Tuesdays. You might get done at 9. Do not add anything else. Take the time, take a nap, sit down and read a magazine. Just because you're doing your administrative work and you've earmarked 4 hours for it and you get it done early, that doesn't mean you have to shove something else in there. And that's what we do when we come from poverty, and it's very natural. We don't have enough money. We all sing that song. I think even people who are very wealthy, even my friend that I shared with, the client, and she became a very good friend, she has plenty of money. But those old beliefs still jump up. And before we know it, we shove someone else in that slot. And you have to give yourself permission to just go sit out on the back deck and listen to the birds, or make a snowman or a snow angel. Don't feel guilty. Give yourself permission to take that time off. you will be, this is boundaries. Not only boundaries for other people, but for yourself. Most of you know I take a nap every afternoon. It's on my calendar. It refreshes me. I don't have to do anything during those hours. And in fact, I will tell you, if you're working full-time, I worked for a company and they had in the ladies' lounge area a small area with a curtain and a bed in case anybody didn't feel good. I always took a nap in there for 30 minutes on my lunch hour. I didn't care what anybody thought. Working all day is hard for me. It really is. Okay, so now you see the idea. You plotted for 12 weeks. You can do the whole year, but you'll see that things repeat. Now, this is an example of how it could look as you're filling it in. But what I want you to realize is you're going to have more blanks than you ever thought. Every one of these pockets, even if you cut this out, if you go through the 12 weeks and you count where you don't have anything, you could have up to 60 free blocks of time. That doesn't mean go fill them in, but let's say you want to write a book, right? So look here. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, I decided that during lunch is when I would have my office hours. Okay. And when people call and they want to meet, between 12 and 1 is when I meet with them. Sometimes I'll meet them in person, right? So, no, that's not right. Wait, hold on a second. I haven't looked at this one in a long time. No, that is right. You can put in your office hours 9 to 12, 2 days a week. Monday morning, if you like to start with clients right away. But if you don't like to, you could do it in the afternoon. And here's a classes here. There's a publisher meeting. It's been a long time since I created this, probably 5 or 6 years. I'm trying to think about what CFAT is. Anyway, Sundays are church. Saturdays can be cleaning. Maybe you have a walk club. So this is just 1 week. And my grandson played baseball on Tuesday nights. I'm not missing that. Not unless there's an emergency, right? So take a look at this. And the things to remember here are you don't want all the blocks filled in. You do not want every single appointment shoved in on this calendar. This is blocking when you like to meet with clients, when you want to do office admin. See, Saturday afternoon. That must not have been for me because I don't like to do it then. But anyway, you get the idea. You get to choose when you're the freshest. Some people are really great in the evening. And if you want to, you can go beyond 9, 6 to 9. I keep that for family only. And you guys know sometimes I do nighttime lives, right? But that's not always my choice. So does anybody have any questions? Let's take a look at this just for a second here. Sharon Rose, I used to take Friday to Monday long weekends and work 2 to 4 day, 40-hour weeks. Yes, and yes, I love that. And, you know, my daughter now in the summer, she is involved in HR for teacher recruitment and retention for her county. In the summer, they get to work 4 10-hour days and they have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Man, don't get me wrong. Getting used to that is not easy. Thank you for that, Sharon Rose. Let's see what Nicole says. I so take my couple of hours if needed after lunch. I have lunch, watch TV, and nap. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I mean, I am working at night too sometimes. It balances out. One thing I will say, do not go beyond 8 hours. There is no need to do that. The only time that you would go, Nicole, I would think that you would go beyond 8 hours when you have a launch coming up and a promotion. But even then, it's not necessary to work more than 8 hours. If you've worked in corporate, you're used to that. Give yourself a break. I love this. I love this. I love it. Let's see what John has to say. How can I pause before reacting to an urgent request to ask if it's aligned with my goals without feeling guilty? Well, we're going to get into that in just a minute here. The pause is to do a physical action. So you have to stop and think a minute. Now, I'll show you in just a minute. We're going to get into Covey's 4 quadrants, and I think I can better answer that. The guilt comes from perfect faith in that if you don't do enough and you don't accept everybody as a client, and you're not making as much money as you have, you're going to feel guilty, because that's the fear of poverty. So the thing to begin with is to recognize that abundance is as available as poverty is. These things that I'm sharing with you will help you move from a poverty mindset to a wealth mindset. There is no vacuum. So you got one or the other. As you do this and you realize that you get to see clients when you want, you get to take the pause to decide. And that's why we're going to get into the next thing. So I'm going to just watch. This will be the next. This will answer your questions, John. And interrupt me again. I'll star this just in case I don't answer it. Oh, shoot. We've only got 3 minutes left. Okay. Leah. Oh, God. Leah. Well, we're going to go longer. Okay. We're going to go. I forgot. It's never more than 8 hours. That was the whole point of leaving my full-time job. Okay. All right. Let me do this. I talk too much as usual. But this is really good, what I'm going to show you next. Now, you know Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm not getting into this, but the first 3 are for you to get your act together. The next 3 are communicating with other people. So once you get your act together, then you're in independence, and then there's more habits in communication with others. But putting first things first, here is Covey's quadrants. These are the 4 quadrants, and this is what will help you, John, and also with planning your day. You've seen this matrix around. This is Eisenhower's matrix. But let me explain to you how it works. I'm going to turn off these comments so you can see everything. Okay, so look at this. So this is your daily planner, okay? So quadrant 1, it has already become urgent. And on the left, it's important. This is the quadrant you want empty. You don't want anything there. You want all your stuff that's important and not urgent yet in quadrant 2. So your daily tasks, all the production that you do, the collaborations, training and development, whatever it is, if you're in corporate, all the things you have to do. Now, if you do not finish these, they move into quadrant 1 for the next day. Now, for me, I always kept that empty because I worked for several C-level executives, and they would always come in at the last minute and say, "Oh, Leslie, can you get me this?" Right? "Oh, could you change this at the last minute?" So I was very used to being interrupted. And so I don't put anything in quadrant 1. That's the idea. You're ready for any emergency. I mean, there's plenty to do, but it hasn't reached a state of urgency yet. So you plan to do everything in quadrant 2. Now, move down to quadrant 3. Here's what John was alluding to. This is where it's urgent to someone else, but not important to you. Not right now, not to interrupt everything in my schedule. These are low value to you. Phone calls that you don't want to answer, or that leave a message and that you can answer later. You don't have to pick up the phone when it rings, right? And I have so many spam calls, I rarely do. Non-emergencies for other people, interruptions. So you see that you really get to control this quadrant. And is it low value to you or high value to you? So this should help you, John, and all of you in figuring out what's going on here. In quadrant 3, it's everybody else demanding your time. But if they were demanding your time and it was of value to you, it would be in quadrant 2, wouldn't it? And then quadrant 4 is just screwing around, web surfing, watching television, reading magazines, playing with the dogs. You got to have that too. So I hope that this helps. Let's see. It's almost Christmas. Okay. Oh, Dr. Marcia is here. I'm glad you like this. So really, that's it. We're at 10:45. Do you have any questions about this? John, did this help? We actually are on time. I can hardly believe it. This is one of the 7 habits. The only other thing that I want to share with you, and let me see if I have that here. I want to share the law of sacrifice before we end. Because there is no vacuum in your mind, and you've heard nature abhors a vacuum. There is no vacuum. You're either thinking one thing or another. The law of sacrifice warns us to only give up something. Hang on a second. Give up something of lesser value to replace it with something of higher value. If you allow and you pick up this phone, you have now traded the time that you designated as a high value boundary that's important to you, and it's not urgent, and handed over that and replaced it with something of lower value. What happens when you continually shift around appointments? You're making that determination right there, and it builds resentment and anxiety. So in order for you, if you give up those high value appointments for something in this quadrant, it's not going to feel right to you. And the more times you shift your schedule around based on other people's convenience rather than your own, and I know there are times with collaboration it happens, the more resentful you will be, yet you're executing. This reminds me so much of Carl Sandburg's poem, Fog. So think about this. Fog creeps in on little cat feet. Think about a kitten that comes in and you can barely feel them brush up against your shoe, if that. The more that kitten rubs and rubs, the more you feel it. When you do not honor the law of sacrifice by honoring your own high-value items and giving them up for someone else's high-value item, resentment builds. So I hope you've enjoyed it, everybody. Let's see if there's anything else. Boom! That's what I call an exchange principle. Absolutely right. And hey, go back and look at this again. We are really done. I'm going to play the outro for Monday. We have Coach Lee Hopkins on Mind Over Matter Mondays. I'm very excited about that. Thank you for being here today. Next Friday, I will be doing, maybe I have this here. Oh, goodness, I do. Let me just put this back so you can see it. Yeah. I've prepared this. So Monday, he will do that. Next Friday, I'm going to talk about self-confidence and identity as a cybernetic system. And we'll take a look at psychocybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, a plastic surgeon from, we wrote 50, 60 years ago. And then the last Monday of the year, our lovely friend Sean Michael will be the guest teacher on Mind Over Matter Mondays. So everyone, for this show, let's see, what is today? Friday. Next Friday, when I see you again, you will have passed through whatever holiday. Right now we have Hanukkah, we've got Christmas coming. There's all sorts of wonderful things coming. So thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you found this time valuable and that it sparked something in you to really take a look at where you're compromising, where you really don't have to, where you're fitting stuff in from an old belief that you can't afford it. And you can't create abundance with that in your mind. So you have to teach yourself to give yourself permission. Okay. Love you all. Thank you for being here.